Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to the house sitting course. I'm Barbara Talisman from Travel with Talisman. I talk all about traveling well for less. I'm going to tell you about a really bad experience I had recently with a sit. I had to leave. I've done this for many years and I've never had to leave. But there were some issues there. I ended up sleeping on the couch. It was a 3-week house sit. And for the first week, I had to sleep on the couch because there was no air conditioning in the bedroom. And we tried a couple of things with fans and the window open. And the window was right over the freeway and the fan didn't work. So I had to, unfortunately, in conjunction with the host, leave, and they arranged for their family members to come help. But it was one of those things, the questions that I told you in part 1 and 2 to talk about. I asked if they had air conditioning and they said yes, but there's no air conditioning in the bedroom. And so it was really difficult. So, you have to move on and you have to protect yourself and you have to follow your instincts. And this is what was under the bed. And the only reason I know that that was under the bed is because my chapstick fell off the bedside table and I had to climb under the bed to get it. And that's when I saw all of this. So I cleaned that all up with the vacuum cleaner. I left the place in as good a shape as I could, met her son and handed it all over. And then I moved on to my next sit. And this is what my normal sit looks like. A beautiful bedroom waiting for me, been cleaned up. That's my box that was delivered from Amazon. And this beautiful place. So all's well that ends well. I just had to tell you that sometimes it goes sideways, and I'm happy to answer any questions about it, but you can always fix it. You have to have plan B and C sometimes, but it's a good way to do it. Today, we are talking how to prepare for the house sit. And so I'm going to run you through some information on that and answer your questions. Please put in the comments where you're calling from or where you're watching from. And I'd love to hear any questions that you have, and I'll be checking that as we go. So let's get started. Let me just get my notes up here so we can get going. Put into the chat now what your biggest concern is about house sitting. I mean, obviously, I've told you about a bad one, but if there are concerns, we're going to talk about them. But if you have specific concerns or things that are holding you back or you're a little nervous about, put them in the chat and I'll answer them. Okay, so let's get going. All right, so you may have concerns, home security, the idea here, you guys, is that you want to travel, right? And you want to have fun and you want to go places and travel well for less and not spend as much money. So how are you going to house sit, take care of an animal, and still have fun and enjoy your vacation or your work away from home? Will the pets, the expectations for taking care of the pet be okay for you? Again, these are things that we manage during our application process and during the interview process. Unexpected issues come up like I just shared with you. You have to work them through. Communication gaps. I had one house sit where they told me they were going away, but didn't tell me they would not have access to Wi-Fi at all. It was not good. And then, will you be able to fit this? It's a new routine for you, and it's a new routine for the pet that you may have because you're not their owner. So I'm here to tell you it has not impacted my travel plans, and it's allowed me to travel farther and further. Evening at the Rady Shell, listening to Jason Mraz from a boat in the water. Yeah, that was great. Morning walks along the water. Take the dog for the walk, and then I take myself for a walk or whatever. Newport Beach came with a pool. The house that I'm at now has a private pool in the backyard. I'm more than happy to show it to you, but I've been sharing pictures on my socials the whole time. And then you have these wonderful pets. So Buster on the right is the current Chihuahua that I'm taking care of. I was invited back to this sit. I was here 3 weeks at the beginning of the summer, and he's just an absolute doll. He's sleeping in the bedroom right now. And Penny on the left was this sit that I just left in San Diego. So I'm in Palm Springs now. I came up from San Diego. Penny was an absolute dream in a beautiful dream house. So it doesn't really impact my travel if you've had the right questions. So it's really important that you get this communication down after you confirm the sit. We talked about searching for, applying, and interviewing. which may answer or should answer a lot of questions or concerns that you have. So you can decide to say thank you, but no thank you. You don't have to take the sit if you're offered it. So if you're not feeling good about it, it's not you have to take it. And that's why you apply for more than one at a time. So, confirming. So the welcome guide is really important. Arrival and departure logistics, and before arrival check-in. So we're going to talk about that. So the welcome guide. Most hosts put these together, and I'm going to share with you a very special one. So hang on for a minute. And it has basic information, right, that a welcome guide might have, like their host contact information, their emails, their phones, family members, nearby people, neighbors, gardeners, things like that. Animal care, especially emergency vet, the regular vet, the groomer, the person next door that might have a car or something that can help you, things like that. And then Wi-Fi and television access. Do they have streaming services? What do they have? Any house rules? No guests, no parties, no noise, whatever those house rules might be. And preferred handling of mail. Some people hold their mail, some people don't. So I want to show you a house sit. I've obviously redacted all of the personal information, but she has gone above and beyond in this welcome guide. And it's a Word document that she keeps updating as she has more house sits and we give her feedback and things like that. So it's basically tells you exactly where she's located, how to get there. She lets you know she's going to have a parking pass for you and where the guest parking is and how to get in. There are a couple of entrances, mail room where that is, and the rooftop deck that she has with a beautiful view. And she has keys that she's giving you, so you have access to all of this. And then elevator upstairs, and then where the garbage is, everything you need in the kitchen. And she says, just keep looking. You'll find it all, open doors. And that's what I found most hosts do. Look, I'm not going to show you where everything is in the kitchen. Just open the drawers and the doors and whatever, and take and use whatever you need. Wi-Fi password, the house stuff. So this is one of the interesting ones. So the house stuff, the countertop in the kitchen is not as indestructible as it looks. She has a beautiful waterfall marble, I think, marble-esque kind of gorgeous top, huge. It's so no hot things on it, no acid juice, lemon, lime. Please use the soft scrub. So she's being very clear. I'm a very neat person. I will follow directions. Any house sitter should, but she's just being really clear here what she needs done there. Right, where the thermostat is. And then she starts talking about all the cats, where the laundry room is, what the cat's like, the TV remote, the sound system, and emergency vet, the vet, how you can get a hold of some neighbors. If there's a credit card that you need to use because the emergency vet, she'll get someone else to pay for it. Don't worry about it. Plans. And then she starts talking about the pets. And she gives you pictures of the pets and she tells them what they like and don't like and what they might do or not do. They were lovely, gorgeous, well-behaved kitties. It was wonderful. But this is where she goes above and beyond. Groceries and shopping. She goes through all the places you can go shopping in the neighborhood and all of her favorite people emergency, where the CVS is, where the urgent care is. I've not really seen that on a lot of welcome guides. And then the restaurants, her favorite restaurants, where she likes to go, things that she likes to see. So that is one of the best welcome guides I have ever seen. And some of them have more, some of them have less. The point is that it is the host's responsibility to put that together for you. If you're not getting it before you get there, you have to make sure that happens. If you're not comfortable and you've got this communication going by text or email or phone, and they're kind of putting it off and putting it off and putting it off, and it's not making you comfortable to go, you can let them know that. And you can let the sitting service, like the website Trusted House Sitters or home carers, whoever, that you just can't get any information and that you're not comfortable. Now, you do not want to wait till the day before you go. But if this is an ongoing issue, that is a red flag, which we talked about in part 1 and 2 as well. So just this welcome guide is sort of your Bible for being a great house sitter and for enjoying the house sit and for you to enjoy the house sit. Okay. So what you get is, these are my upcoming sits that are coming up. This is the other one, Los Angeles. I've already been there before. She's got a beautiful house sit. And so the welcome guide is there for me. She's got a cat. And it's funny that I have 2 back-to-back house sits that I've been asked back to, and Spring Valley back in Las Vegas. So I requested the guide and then he'll send it to me. So this is part of the house sit process and the welcome guide process once you've agreed to having a sit. So the other thing that you should do is research the area. You're going on vacation. So how in the chat, how many are you thinking, how many, I could talk. How many of you are thinking of going on vacation house sitting? Work away from home house sitting? Just get away in general? Like, how do you think that you would use house sitting? But if you're going to enjoy yourself or write the great American novel or work from a new environment, you want to be in a place that's comfortable for you. So things to do, like go to a concert or take a walk along the beaches or find an amazing library or museum. So, you want to look at what's in the neighborhood and what you might like to do and how far you may have to drive or go to have some fun. Your safety, are you safe in the neighborhood? There are areas now around San Francisco and on the East Bay that I'm just not going to anymore. I can't park my car in the street. I've had friends who've had issues going to movie theaters with their cars, so I've just written them off my list. It's okay. It's a big country, lots of other places to go. Is there grocery and shopping nearby? And things to do, just in general, things to do. I look for meetups. I look for other opportunities to meet other people. So before you apply, you might want to look at a community. So what I tell people is you can either find a house sit with a general search for Los Angeles, San Francisco, Boston, New York, wherever you want to go, Paris. And when you find one you like, apply and decide that's where you're going to go on vacation or work away from home or whatever you're going to do. Or you decide, I want to go to Boston. So you're going to really focus your house sitting search in Boston. Either way, you're saving money without having to pay for hotel rooms or Airbnbs or parking or things like that. So, but you want to research where you're going so you have an idea of what you're getting into. So I've been in Southern California, and none of my house sits have impacted my ability to go out and enjoy myself. So the Coronado Ferry is free in the morning, so I often take that from San Diego across. I went to America's Got Talent when I was up in LA. So much fun, free. Both of those things were free, by the way. So when we're talking about traveling well for less, these are both free. And then I went to the Price of Right. I went to the Price is Right, and I got picked. I did not win, did not get to the final round, but it was so much fun. It was such a great day. It was so wonderful. Free, again, free. And I love a walk along the beach. So this Southern California area for me is my respite to kind of recharge and get ready for my next 6 months of travel. San Francisco was beautiful. I drove over to the bridge. I think in the whole summer I was there might have been 4 clear days of the bridge when I was there. So then your other concerns could sort of be getting comfortable with a pet. And again, this welcome guide should be telling you how often do they go for walks? What is their feeding schedule? What's their personality? And again, in part 1 and 2, we looked at some descriptions where we had leash aggressive dogs and sitters who had left comments and reviews that I wouldn't have applied to those sits because there's clearly some challenges there. Can they be left alone? This is a challenge because with COVID, a lot of people wonderfully adopted a lot of pets out of shelters and then stayed home with them promptly for 2 years. So now they want to start traveling again, and that dog or cat is not comfortable alone in the apartment all day. So, and they normally say that in their listing. We need somebody who's going to stay at home most of the day, or they can only be left alone for an hour at a time or whatever. I do not apply to those. I want to be able to go out and enjoy my day and see a museum for the day. And if the dog can't be left home more than 5 hours or 4 hours, or the cat, I don't take those sits. So that's a question. If they don't mention it in their listing or during the interview, that's a question I always ask. And then sleeping. Are you comfortable sleeping with an 80-pound dog on the bed with you? Or a cat that climbs under the covers, or a beagle who climbs under the covers? So those are questions that I also ask during the interview, and it avoids having those issues once you've already committed. So those are all things that help you get comfortable with the pet. And so I have really had no issues, maybe a couple, but I've told you before, I rescued Shar-Pei, Chinese Shar-Pei. They're very dominant, can be very aggressive dogs. The rescues we had were. So I'm kind of used to it. But if you're not used to that dominant, kind of rough dog, then you should avoid those at all costs. And so a couple were probably more aggressive than the owner had let on, and I managed it, but I also let them know that they need to be clearer in what that aggression looks like. So you can get caught, but if you ask these questions, you can just say no. So it's not a big deal. Cats have been lovely, and I love hanging out with them, and they've all been wonderful little kitties. So upon arrival, you'll get a home tour and they'll take you through and show you a lot of stuff that's in the welcome guide, which would include like water shut off and electric shut off and emergency services or weird things about the house. You know, is there a pool guy coming? Is the guard, what days are the gardener coming or the housekeeper? So you kind of take a home tour. And that's when you get your first eye on the pet, right? At that point, I would tell you it would be very bad form to leave, but it is not bad form to have a nice conversation with the host about, I didn't realize this 80-pound German Shepherd would be jumping to my shoulders when I arrived. Do you have a way that I can manage that better? So those are things that you get sort of your first eye on the pet. Often during my interviews, the host will bring the animal up on their lap, or they'll show me the dog sitting or lying down or whatever it is, or the cat. So you get a sense of what their relationship is with the host and how the dog or animal reacts at that point. Review the daily routine to make sure it hasn't changed any since you interviewed or since you read the welcome guide, and of course, all the emergency information. Knock on wood, I have never had an emergency with the pet. I had water leakage and stuff like that I dealt with. It was easy, but nothing with the pet. And so there you are. This was my house sit with Penny. Beautiful pool like I have here. This is up in San Diego. This was the view from an amazing 28th floor apartment in Melbourne, Australia, overlooking the city, and then ended up at New Year's Eve there. It was Christmas and New Year's Eve that I was there for 6 weeks, house sitting in Melbourne. It was amazing. So you end up, I know I'm kind of warning you off of a lot of stuff, but when it works brilliantly. And as I said, of all of my house sits, I can probably count 2 that were a challenge. And this one that I left, I've never done that before. So it happens. Now there's you, okay? So now you have to take care of you. You know what the house is, you have a really good idea about the animal, but you have to take care of yourself. And while this is a trip that maybe you would normally have gone on and stayed at a hotel or maybe even staying with friends or something like that, you want to pack for comfort, depending on the weather. Maybe it's cooler in the morning or the evenings for dog walks or for being outside, and you'd be outside longer than maybe you would if you were just on vacation and didn't have to walk a dog. So you just want to make sure you have layers depending on the season, or really cool shorts and tank tops if it's really hot. But you want to pack for comfort that's just beyond, oh, I'm just going to go to the museum today, or today I'm just going to go walk, or I'm going to have lunch with friends. It's a little different when you're taking care of an outdoor pet, a pet that needs to go outside. You plan for the unexpected as well as you can. Not everything always goes to plan. You should have your own emergency contact information. If, knock on wood, nothing happens to you, of course, but what is your plan if something should happen to you while you're traveling or while you're driving or you trip and fall? What's the plan for there? And listen to your instincts. Your instincts will always serve you, and they'll probably maybe be on a higher level at your first house sit, and then it just becomes easy. So I want to talk about why house sit and what's that why all about. This is all about traveling well for less. Many of you who have been following me know that I do my travels on a very limited budget, my Social Security and a very small retirement fund. I don't have a home. I travel full time. You don't have to do that. But if you're going to travel for 2 or 3 weeks and you can lower the cost of your overhead, you could travel farther. You could have more travel. You could stay someplace longer. My why is this house sitting allows me to do all of this, to cruise from Sydney to LA for 34 days, to go and spend 6 months in Melbourne, which is like my second home. And if I can get house sits there and I have to get an apartment for a couple of months, it's still less expensive. The silos in rural Victoria are amazing, unbelievable pieces of art. This is in Utah during COVID and after COVID. I've always driven through these beautiful, beautiful parks there. And then the beaches of Southern California and Northern California are just one of my favorite places. Italy. Why not go to Italy? And I can do all of this because I've saved my overhead and my money house sitting, and it allows me to then spend money to fly to Italy or to cruise back from Australia or to get to Australia using points, and to be in South America for the last 4 or 5 months and Antarctica and take a walking tour with these people that I didn't know with Get Your Guide. And he gave us an amazing tour of Santiago. So the deal is, I am all about traveling well for less and sharing my tips and tricks on how I do this. House sitting is one way I'm going to do this. This is a free course. We have more travel tips and hacks on my YouTube channel. That's been going on for over a year and a half. And there's a playlist there about house sitting and how you can travel well for less doing that. And this is on the cruise from Australia. These guys are actually in Palm Springs right now, and we're meeting to get together soon. And we met in Puerto Vallarta when I was living there, and we've been friends ever since. I just came back from visiting them in Seattle. And this is in the Galapagos Islands this year, or last year? Yeah, last year, somewhere in there. And again, a trip I would not have been able to afford if I had an apartment and other things that I was paying for. So by having low overhead and being able to use my money differently, I can go on trips like this. Cruises, I just meet people and it's wonderful. And oftentimes, and I'll be doing another course on that, even as a solo traveler, cruising solo is less expensive than living in an apartment or a home in the United States anyway, because you have food, you have a gym, you have people, you have entertainment, you go to different places, you can make it your own. This is in Antarctica on an expedition. So I went down to Antarctica on a cruise ship, and then I stayed and went on an expedition where we get off on Zodiacs onto the Antarctic Peninsula. And then, of course, I love going back to Chicago and Melbourne, where I have all my friends, my really good BFFs, and I get to go see them when I want as well. Machu Picchu, and then this is all my buddies in Melbourne. And so the point is, I hope that you see the pathway that I have shared with you and the tips and hacks about house sitting and how to apply, search and apply and interview. And now this is how you're preparing for it. Part 4 will be on November 17th at 3:30 live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And you can register online at where'sbabs.com. It's right on the front page and give you access to the guides from part 1, 2, and 3, as well as the videos. And you can watch those at your leisure. And I really just hope that this was useful to you and something that you felt, helpful. And I wanted to just go look through to see if there are any questions there in the chat. But thanks so much for coming by. Appreciate it. So Teresa says she wants to check out an area if I like it, and I'll look for a place to stay for 1 or 2 weeks. Teresa, that's a great idea. I've actually had people ask me to house sit because they're in the process of retiring. And so they have a house and then they're staying someplace for 4 weeks to look at the community and the real estate and what's there to decide if that's where they want to move, because they want to move from where they are and they're trying to decide where they want to go. I will also tell you, I usually do my house sits for a minimum of 3 to 4 weeks and only fill in with short ones when I want to. But when I make that schedule, I start with these big chunks of time. So there are a lot of retirees, probably some of you on this call, who can spend a lot of time away, but have a pet they need to take care of. So it's not like you're moving every weekend, although that's a great way to start locally, is just to take a weekend house sit and see if you like it. Yeah, The Price is Right was fun. It was very fun. I didn't get a consolation prize, but I had so much fun. It was a great time. And we've got people from Oregon on there. So are there sits without pets? Yes, there are. They tend to be referrals, not part of the sitting platforms. There are other platforms that you can use, the sabbatical platform, and others. You can filter, though, for the type of animal you want. I don't mind cats or dogs, but if all you want is sit cats, you can filter. So the date, the location you're interested in, how long you want the sit to be, and then which animals, dogs, cats, farm animals, chickens. It's a whole list, and you can decide which ones you want. 99% of these are with animals. So that is the consolation, right? Absolutely. You can stay in a hotel, you can rent an Airbnb and go do whatever you want. When I left that house sit, I had to get an Airbnb, and that was fine. But it was a budget buster because that was a long sit and I had 2 weeks left that I had to fill. So to me, I was kind of bummed about that, but I made that choice that I just couldn't stay there. I had to have my mental and my physical health taken care of. Um, I'm not a pet person. Any suggestions for not pet lovers? You know what, Julie? I have a number of Facebook groups that I'm in with people who want to travel. So I did an 8-week pet sit last summer with a couple whose kids are all grown, and they were going away for 8 weeks and were not comfortable leaving their house alone. They had the timers on the lights and all that stuff, but if the water line broke or there was a gas leak, anything like that, they wanted somebody there. And for security, they wanted the neighborhood or whoever, very safe neighborhood, but they wanted them to have somebody who's coming and going from the house. So I had the entire house to myself for 8 weeks. Those are normally on referral. So if you could get into, let's say, maybe a Del Webb community or a condo, which is kind of odd because they usually have doormen and good security, but maybe they have plants that they need to get taken care of. So it just depends. I think you need to work your network for that. Trusted House Sitters and the other sits that are listed, the other sitting sites that are listed in part one, really, and in the guide, they're all in the guide, really are mostly pet related. So the non-pets that I did were all referrals. That's all I can offer, Julie. I'm sorry. Let's see, who else? Glad you liked the information. So that's a good question, Julie. Do you plan for the entire year? So I started this process in February while I was still in South America and Antarctica. And I start looking for sits and applying. And again, I only applied for 3 or 4 weeks at a time. And by the time I finished in March, I had applied and interviewed and confirmed all my sits from June when I returned to the US through now. But the ones now, I actually thought I would be gone by now. But this one and the one that I'm going to in LA asked if I would be available. So I decided to stick around in October and November. And then sits popped up in Las Vegas, which I needed to go to drop my car to start traveling again in January and February. So I was here house sitting from June to November or December rather, which actually just gives me more money to spend. And I'm in the process now of planning January through June of 25. And there's some amazing deals on some cruises, river cruises and cruises for 26, which I have never planned that far in advance. My joke is I could be dead by then. But at 50% off, if you book now in 2026 with a low deposit, which you lose if you decide not to go, is a really good deal. So I think I am going to start looking at 2026, book some, and buy the travel insurance the day I book. That's another tip. You buy your travel insurance the day you book a trip, because if you wait to book it until you leave, like a year later, there are perks that you don't get because you waited so long to book that. So if you book your travel insurance within, I think it's 90 days or 30 days of putting a deposit down, there are other perks that you get with that travel insurance. So I'm going to start looking at 2026. So I'll be planning, Julie, like 2 years, which is unusual for me. Let's see. Oh, you retired 4 years. Oh my gosh, where to go first? When I retired, Julie, it was August of 21. I was living in San Diego and I didn't know I was retiring. The cruise ships had just gotten back from COVID. They had just been allowed to start traveling again and booked 4 back-to-back cruises from LA down to Mexico, Cabo, Mazatlan, Puerto Vallarta, and back, basically, in a balcony to myself for $800 a week. It was much cheaper than living in San Diego. I sold everything I had and I left. And there is a YouTube video about what happened about that because I ended up living in Puerto Vallarta for free for 7 months, for my first 7 months of retirement. So that was almost an entire year that I saved money. So a couple things on that, Julie. One is I always look at currency. So obviously going from the US to Mexico, your US dollar goes really far. Right now, euro is on par. So if you're going to Europe, you want to go to Paris or even London, the British pound, not really good. Asia, much better. Southeast Asia. So I think it depends on your travel well for less budget, you know, and you could decide you're just retiring. You want to take 4 weeks and go see the world, and you're going to spend five figures on that. Okay, and then maybe you'll figure out something from there. I mean, I kind of feel like retirement is a congratulatory, celebratory time. And if you have some money and there's a place on your bucket list, why not just kick it off from there? So I'd say look at your bucket list, look at your budget, look at the currency to see that your money, how far your money will go. Are there friends that you can go with or go visit? So plot that out on a map. And I visit friends all the time. As I said, they're all converging in Palm Springs right now. It's very weird. We didn't plan it, and just go for it. And the other thing is, we're adults. You can be flexible. You don't like it, leave. So it depends. Do you want to be on a cruise ship and be pampered and taken care of for the next 4 weeks or 2 weeks or 1 week? Do you feel like plopping yourself in Paris and eating all the croissants and cafe that you can? Do that. Maybe a beach, gorgeous this time of year in well, not quite this time of year. December, January, it'll be gorgeous in Mexico. It's a little hot and humid right now. So look at climate, money, time, what kind of vacation, vacation to retirement or vacation from work it might be. And I'd be delighted to talk with you about that offline. There's lots of options. Okay, let's see what else is here. I used to when I started traveling, I was in San Diego. I had left Las Vegas for San Diego. Grew up in Cleveland. Moved from Cleveland to Chicago for a job. Moved from Chicago to Washington D.C. for a job. Moved from Washington to Australia for a job, and then came back to Las Vegas and didn't have a job, and found one there, and then took this job. So based in San Diego when I left in August of 21. Yeah. I am. Thank you for asking, Teresa. I did not plant that question by Teresa. Yes, I am. 2026, a river cruise. I am looking at the Douro River in Portugal. We are looking at France, and we are looking at a couple of others on this wonderful river cruise. We only need 7 people to make a group. I will be putting that on the email. So if you are not on the Talisman Travel Tribe Travel Well for Less group, make sure that you sign up on the website, where'sbabs.com, and we'd love to have you, and you'll get information about the cruises and more tips and tips and hacks for traveling well for less. Thank you for asking, Teresa. I very much appreciate that question. Okay, where I'm house sitting, they have Netflix. I just watched a scary, oh my gosh, about a blind house sitter called See For Me. It's worth watching. I wouldn't want her as a house sitter. Oh, Cheryl, I didn't even know that was on Netflix. Oh, I don't know that I would watch that one. But thanks for telling us. Appreciate it. Okay, so let me just run through this again really quick to see if there are any other questions here. Puerto Vallarta. So Cheryl, Puerto Vallarta, I was there. I got there in November by the time the apartment was ready and everything. And then I rented out the second bedroom, second bath during COVID. You have to watch the video because it's really good. It's my highest ranking video. Just go to the videos and hit most popular, and it's right there. Renting out the second bedroom and the second bathroom, and never paid for rent because the women who came in to rent it covered the rent. But November to April is okay. You know, the thermostat kind of goes down in December, January, and becomes this gorgeous, beautiful, non-humid 70 to 80, 90 degrees. And then in April, it was starting to climb up again. So actually, I left Puerto Vallarta and came back to Chicago and rented an apartment in Chicago for 7 months, and then took off traveling again after that. So again, climate for me is a big one. 55 to 75 degrees with no humidity is my perfection. And I was in Palm Springs in June here at this house. It was 120 degrees. It's dry heat, so I don't really care. The dog did not want to be out in the heat in the morning, so it was fine. We went out early took a nice little walk and came back in. I swam in the pool here, and I belong to a gym, and everything here is air conditioned within an inch of its life. So that heat doesn't bother me. It's the humidity that drains the heck out of me. Okay. Anything else? Any other questions that anybody has? Oh, fun. So you know what? So here's the other tip, Julie, that you may know about this. I have actually signed up for standby. So if any of you are aware of standby on Holland, and Julie, you don't count, but there's a standby program. Flexibility is key. If you can get to or live near San Diego, Vancouver, Seattle, Boston, or Fort Lauderdale, you can go on their standby list for $99 per day per person, no single supplement. So you get the cabin all to yourself. $99 a day for an interior or a ocean view. That's a window that doesn't open. Or $129 a day for a veranda. That's their version of a balcony. So friends of mine are going on this cruise January 4th. I looked at it and the solo supplement was like insane. It was like $3,000 for an interior room for 7 days for a solo person. I said, no. So I found this standby program. And if you sign up for a veranda, which is a balcony, and there are none available, and they offer you an ocean view or an interior, you can say no thank you, and they'll give you your money back. They will not give you your money back on the $99 interior room. Within 7 to 2 days of sailing, they send you an email saying you're either on board or you're not, or this is what's going on. And you can decide to wait up until 90 minutes before departure. And if you don't get on, they'll give you your money back. I'm in San Diego already. My friends are already on that cruise. They are very generous and allow me to stay with them when I'm here in between sits sometimes, or we just go to happy hour together. So the plan A is to get on the ship. Plan B is a January 4th cruise out of LA for 10 days, similar cruise, but 10 days on Princess. And I can fly from San Diego up to LA very easily. Or stay at their apartment if I go nowhere and they'll be gone. So I don't know, Julie, if you have any insights. I don't know what your role was at Holland America, but it's a Holland America standby program. And it's my first time trying it. I have a number of girlfriends who may be joining me, and we all just think it's $903 for a veranda room for 7 days from San Diego down to Baja and the Sea of Cortez, La Paz, Laredo, Cabo from San Diego. So I'm sorry, Julie, you mentioned that. So it's my first time trying it, but I'm going to give it a shot. Has anybody else done that or know anything about that? Yeah, Annie, I follow the sun. So having grown up with 50 years in the Midwest in Cleveland and Chicago, I have done my penance in snow. I only go to snow for Antarctica or something like that because I want to. Otherwise, I really don't carry winter clothes with me. So absolutely. Yeah. Wes Neat, you used to work for Global Travel, which is where you are now. I think that Wes Neat. I'm not sure what that means, Julie. Any insights on the standby program? I'm sure people might want to know here. A lot of the people here are solo, 50 plus or so. And, again, that goes under the travel well for less deal, right? Let's see. So Julie says she doesn't know many people who have been successful on the standby program. And I'm sure, I'm wondering, just because it's January 4th, which is kind of a weird in between time, you may have to be back at work on Monday, or the kids maybe have to be back at school. So I don't know, but I've got 2 plans to see if it works or not, but thanks for that. Okay. Anything else? I'll let you guys go for the rest of your Saturday afternoon, but I really appreciate you coming and joining me. Please go to where'sbabs.com. I'd love to have you subscribe to the email list and join the tribe, and you'll get special perks and access to things that not everybody gets access to. And right now it's all free. So I'd love to have you join me. Send me your questions. My email address and my contact form is on the website, and love to see you. And November 17th, join us for my top 10 tips for house sitting, and we'll go from there. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a wonderful day.